difference in wind flowing along a river, but I've never heard a term for that. So I guess the answer to the question would be no, or at least not one that Art and I are familiar with.
Ruth Lind has found someone else to chat with on this last day.
She's good at that.
She is very good at that. So let's go down and check in again with Ruth Lind.
That's the favorite part of my job, is talking to these people. This morning I am with Katie and Mike Heffron. They're from right here in Albuquerque. We were attracted by the sight of their really cool trailer and ground lights, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I want to talk to Katie, because Katie is the crew chief and she has the most awesome job. Katie, tell me about some of the things that are your responsibility running this team.
Good morning. My favorite part about running the team is just working with so many new people, so many new crew that want to come out and help, and just guiding them to teach them how we set up the balloon. And the most important thing for me is just to make sure that the balloon is connected properly to the basket, so we have a good, safe flight. And then, you know, chasing is so much fun with everybody running all over town, trying to find out where he's going to land and everything. So just making sure, you know, his landing zone is a safe zone to land in, no fences, no power lines, and that kind of thing. So.
And what do? You get to a landing spot and you're probably the first contact with the lander. How does that usually go?
Usually it goes pretty well. We get a lot of people out in their pajamas and their slippers, which is always a lot of fun. But people are excited when we want to land in their yard. You know, we wake a lot of people up in the morning banging on their doors, but they're always very welcoming. You know, yes, please land in our yard, and they come out and join us. So.
What's usually the first thing you say to them?
We just say, hey, our balloon, we're here. Can we land in your yard? Is that okay with you? And come out and join us. Come and see the balloon.
Wonderful. Now, have you designed this wonderful light system as your trailer, and then we have lights all around your... How did that even occur to you? Where did that all come from?
Well, when we started flying Time Patrol, we needed more light and to give us some light to be able to put the system together, and then it just started to build from there. We decided to do a light show with our trailer and a light show in and around the balloon system also.
I wouldn't be surprised if you get recruited by the drone guys pretty quick. I mean, this is really beautiful. So are these all LED lights, and how are they powered?
Yeah, they're all battery-operated LED lights. The ones off the trailer, we wire right in with the trailer lights, and it has a remote control where we can change it to dance with the music or just do silent.
Very, very cool. Hef and Katie, we're so glad you're with us today. Enjoy whatever the day brings. We don't know. Static, light, who knows? Anyway, back to Glenn and Art on the stage.
Thank you, Ruth. And, you know, we get a lot of great comments that are compliments of the work that Art and I do together. So I just wanted to share this. Ruth, I hope you're still listening, because Barbara Lay Delgado says, great interviews and great job, Ruth. Love listening to you every morning. Hope all get to fly. And here's to Fiesta 51. So, yeah, so your efforts certainly appreciated by our audience as well, Ruth, and I would echo that. Great job down there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, Ruth always does a great job, always finds just the best people on the field to talk to and ask the right questions and just bring you things that you probably don't see out here on the field yourself.
Well, and just as the evolution of Balloon Fiesta Live from just being field announcers, which is what Tom Rutherford and I used to do, talking over the PA, just as you brought Balloon Fiesta Live into being, and we bring a new element with people being able to see the balloons and watch all of the activities going on. Ruth being on the field adds even a newer element, another element, by bringing us the personal stories of all the people here, whether they're spectators or vendors or pilots, crew chiefs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I agree, she does a great job of finding just the right people to talk about. They always have an interesting perspective to share. And I've done that street reporter job back in my days, and it's not an easy job to do. Ruth does it effortlessly, makes it look very easy and well done, but it is a difficult job, and she does it very well.
it brings that element to Balloon Fiesta Live, I think, that I like to talk about. Come to Balloon Fiesta, experience it in person, but then go home and watch it again on Balloon Fiesta Live because
And see what you missed.
frankly, yeah.
Because, I've told pilots for years when I meet, new pilots and they say, oh, I've always wanted to fly at Fiesta. My advice always is the first year, don't go as a pilot. Go as a spectator. Just go and watch and see how it all works and how it happens and how big it is and all the things the pilots have to deal with. Don't do that as a rookie pilot and come in here and you can get flummoxed and just overwhelmed by everything that's going on. Come the first year as a spectator, just enjoy it, soak it all in, get the lay of the land. Then, if you still want to come and fly here, come and fly.
I also coordinate all of our official photographers here at Balloon Fiesta, have for the last 4 or 5 years. And every year we get a few new ones, and I try to explain to them how big a job this is, how big the field is, how the number of balloons in the sky, the number of people. And so I encourage them to go back and watch our previous Balloon Fiesta live shows to get an idea.
That's a great idea.
And they still show up, and then after about 2 days, they go, oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah. Because I used to tell people when I first started coming out here myself, I said, Fiesta is like sensory overload. If you've never been here, you can go to a small community balloon event with 20, 30, maybe even 50, but maybe even as much as 100 balloons at different parts around the country. But you can't imagine what it is to stand on the field on a good flight day and see balloons literally everywhere. You can't turn without your entire focus being filled with balloons. It literally is almost a sensory overload, and that's why I really encourage people, you need to come the first time just as a spectator. Just let it all kind of sink in, take it all in, because it is very overwhelming. Gosh, I know even the first year that I was here as an announcer, and especially those first few years because I was working solo. Tommy would be down doing television. I'd be up on the roof, the scaffold at the time, doing this on my own.
Whatever platform you found.
With the only aide I had was Glenda Watson, our spotter, who would be up here to help me sponsor balloons. But other than that, it was a solo job, and it really was just overwhelming. It's so much easier to work with a partner, as I did with Tom for 25 years, and now with you for 6, 7 years, I guess we're going on now. It's so much easier because you can bounce things off of each other. Each of us sees things and reacts to things the other one doesn't. So it makes it much easier to work as a tag team, as it were. But the whole event is, as we heard Sam Park say, it is the largest event of its type in the world, and it's an awful lot to take in on your first visit here.
I think there's one little indicator that most people don't know about is just how big this is compared to other balloon rallies. One of the questions that we ask pilots that apply to come to Balloon Fiesta and fly here is, have you ever flown with more than 50 balloons in the air at the same time where you are? 50.
Oh, yeah.
We put 550, or this year, 650.
Yeah.
So we're asking, have you flown with more than 50 balloons at the same time?
Yeah.
Because, most balloon rallies are in that order of, some of it's probably
20 to 50. Yeah, that's the average, by and large.
Some are bigger than that. So that is that's the difference. I've flown with 50, or I've flown with 45. Yeah, it's a lot more.
Well, and the other thing is, have you ever flown at altitude? Because we're at 5,000 feet here, and I learned that lesson my first year here as a pilot. I was flying my 77 Thunder Colt Yellow Rose, and I quickly learned that the balloon does not perform the same at altitude because of density, altitude, etc., as it does at sea level where I lived and where I learned to fly. And there were a couple of times in my first year or two flying here when I had some close calls and just went, oh, I see. And there was quite a learning curve. And so that's another thing to take into consideration if you're a pilot wanting to come to Fiesta. Learn to fly and get some experience flying in different locales. If you just fly, at home all the time, and home is at sea level, you're going to be shocked to bring your balloon to Albuquerque and fly at 5,000 feet here in the high desert. It's a whole nother ballgame.
And we've been seeing some balloon envelope activity down on the field. I noticed one balloon actually stretched it out so that they can take the sponsored banner off the side of it. And others have stretched it out and have hooked it up, all in anticipation of that we're going to get a green flag. And our assistant balloon meister, Peg Bilson, has just told the pilots that we are putting the green flag up. And while they haven't actually changed it yet, they're about to. And so pilots will be able to fly here in the next couple of minutes, or at least get ready to fly here in the next couple of minutes. But we should be changing the flag from yellow to green, as she tells them. That's what I think I just heard her say, that we're going to be going green here shortly.
Outstanding. And if I may say so, it's about time. Not meaning this morning.
No, yes.
No,
yeah.
no different, no dissing this morning. Just for this balloon fiesta. By gosh, it's about time we see a green flag. We've seen far too much of that yellow flag all week long. So that is great news. That is great news.
We continue to see the balloon of the day, KKOB. Well, look at that cutie. There you go. Don't stick your tongue out at us. Get to work. Get that balloon standing up.
There you go. Here's an interesting tip that, Ina Vanderkrast says, if you go to Fiesta as a photographer, here's one for some of your official photographers and anyone else, bring enough memory cards, battery packs, and don't be selective taking photos the first time, because you never know what might make a great picture. Just shoot everything. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I would. One of the early days when I was here, obviously we weren't shooting digital, it was film.
Film, yeah.
And it was really amazing how many rolls of film you would go through, and how really, frankly, expensive it was to then develop all those film and to have all those pictures. So the great deal with digital now, just bring a whole lot of cards, take a whole lot of pictures. It's easy to delete
You can always delete the ones that don't work out. Yeah, a quick story I'll tell as we're waiting to see the green flag go up is that some years ago I paid for my way on a trip to Europe to the 1983 World Championships over in Nantes, France. A group of us, a couple of balloonists who were also in the travel business, put together a travel group out of Plano, Texas, and there were several balloonists and a few that weren't, and we organized a trip to go to Nantes for the World Championships, and then we also did some touring around Paris and Normandy and other parts of France. So I put together, I was a budding amateur photographer, and I put together a package where I promised, made a contract with all the other members of our little tour group, there were like 18 or 20, that I would produce a souvenir photo album for them. Because again, this was in the days well before, there goes the green flag, well before digital. And so I shot a ton of photos, some of them generic, like, say, for example, a generic shot of the Eiffel Tower, but then I made a point of shooting candid photos of each person that was in our tour group, got home, developed all that film, and then put them into albums, and I charged a fee for the album, and that's kind of how I paid my way over on the trip. But the funny part was going through the airport, I had gone to a thrift store and bought, a second or third hand old beat up suitcase, and I had it loaded with nothing but Kodak film. There must have been 100 rolls of 36 exposure film in there. And going through the airport in those days, I'm not sure if they were damaged or not, but there was this, oh no, don't x-ray my film, because that'll hurt the film. So I would have them hand inspect, open the suitcase, and then they'd be confronted with this suitcase full of all these rolls of film, and you could see eyes roll, amongst the prior to all the security we have at airports these days, but still, you can see the people at the gates and the security, their eyes would kind of roll back in the back of their head when they saw this suitcase full of film. So that's my film story, but that was fun. Still have those, my albums anyway, that we produced from that. That was a great group. And that was the year, as it turned out, after we had already made the plans and put the group together and booked all the tickets and everything, that was the year that the United States ended up boycotting going to the World Balloon Championships. So there were no Americans there, but still we had an absolutely great trip. Super great memories. One of my first trips overseas to France for the 1983 Worlds.
As you were telling us that story, we watched the green flag.
We did.
There it is.
Yeah.
The scissor lift, one of our cameras, right next to the main street stage. There he is waving at us. And we've also been watching Tristan McLean.
So is that the old Balloon Meister's tower? Remember we heard George Hahn saying the other day that, when he was Balloon Meister, they just had a scissor lift, and the pilots would all chant, higher, 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 as he rose up.
It's probably not the same one, but that's exactly what he had, is something like that. So we've been watching, and we see again here Tristan McLean and his hot minute crew getting everything rigged. They've connected the envelope to the burner, to the basket, the burner frame. We saw him put mount the camera, all important camera for Tristan. And they just put the tie-off line on, double checking to make sure the cables are connected correctly. The next step will be to start that inflator fan we see right behind them and start to blow cold air, because it is definitely colder today than it's been, cold air into the balloon, and then that will start the cold inflation process. Looking out farther in the field, a number of our Rainbow Rider balloons and other balloons are starting to inflate as well. So again, the green flag is up and the field is open for launches. They'll still need their launch director like they always do, due to the fact that we have so many balloons here. And it becomes literally the busiest airport in the world for about an hour.
That's right. You cannot launch without approval of the launch director. Another comment in the Facebook group says, when I attended my first Balloon Fiesta, I bought 30 rolls of film and still ran out, but was able to buy more here on the field. Remember, there was a time when Walgreens would have a booth here on the field, and they would sell film because it was a highly sought-after commodity before the days of digital cameras. And you could actually turn your film into their booth here at the field, and they would take it away, process it, and then you come back and pick up your prints that afternoon.
I remember all the folks walking around with the doctors and all the different film sites.
Yeah.
So that you could literally not have to even go to Walgreens.
They were like street vendors just wandering around.
And even out among the field.
Yeah, like a cigarette girl. What you see in the old book, exactly. Cigarettes, candy, whatever.
Yeah.
And but they were just selling all the different. They had, Kodachrome and extra chrome and clip film and all that stuff.
The 120 and
the 35 millimeter.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of our retro history here at Balloon Fiesta, and a sign of how things have changed. Everybody just has a phone in their pocket and pulls it out and takes a ton of pictures. Or has a camera in their pocket that also makes phone calls.
Which is what's most effective. Yeah.
Depends on, what your primary objective is, I suppose. Yeah. So that camera in my pocket that takes phone calls.
Yeah.
Or some like you, take phone calls on their watch.
That's it.
I haven't gone that far yet.
It's actually nice because, especially if there's a text message or something on your, you get the little haptic kick on your wrist, and so you can just take a look at it and get an idea of who's trying to get in touch with you or what that is. I still tend to pick up my phone to go read the full message unless I'm looking for 2 or 3 words.
As long as we're telling war stories about photography, Larry Stevens says, Glenn Warrior, tell the story of selling a photo of Hearts of Fire for $50. I need it for my Hugo. Well, Larry is absolutely correct. One of my first fiestas here, I took a great picture of the balloon Hearts of Fire, which our friends Malcolm White and Pauline Baker of Ireland are flying here this week. And I ended up making contact with a postcard company in Plano, Texas, and I sold that photograph to them that they then put on a postcard for $50. It was one of my first sales as a quote-unquote professional photographer, if you will. And
you've been a professional lot of it.
I have been, which tells you I do a lot of things fairly decent, fairly good, but not very much very well. Yeah, so I that was more, actually I sold them 3 or 4 photographs, as a matter of fact, but all for $50, and that's all I ever made. And they've sold that, and they're probably selling that postcard for this very day, and that was in 1984, I think, when I took that photograph, and I was here for the first time with this stuff over. So there you go, Larry. Check that off on your bingo card. I hope you won.
That's kind of like the Zia balloon of the McConnell land. obviously has been around since the very early days, multiple variations of that as fabric wears out, they replace it. It's such an iconic balloon. All kinds of things.
Yeah.
Buses here.
It's a,
Put it where
well, it's amazing to me when you look at postcards of Balloon Fiesta and calendars and things like that, and even in books. To me, you always sort of seem to see the same bunch of balloons. I flew my balloon here for a number of years, and it was like I never got into a calendar or a postcard or whatever. I finally did. There was one picture that was taken and it ended up in a few different print modes. In fact, I have an old checkbook cover on this one, a checkbook cover.
we have placement. They replace it.
Yeah, okay, but I almost, Yellow Rose, almost wonder, although I do have, now do we do that anymore? Because I was in a glow one of my first years here, and I was assigned on row A, and I flew my balloon Yellow Rose, and in the Yellow Rose, the parachute top, we've talked a little bit about them. In fact, there's a great shot of a smiley face on the parachute top. Well, my parachute top in the Yellow Rose was a Texas flag, and in the old days, I don't know if we still do it, but they used to have a photo plane would fly over the balloon glows, and they would take a photograph of an all burn, and then a few days later you could buy an 8x10 print of that picture. Well, I've got that photo at home, and it was easy to spot my balloon because I could look down and see that Texas flag right in the parachute top of the balloon.
So the answer to the question is we still put a photo plane up. We still capture those pictures. We just don't make them available
You don't
for
do
sale
the print
anymore.
and
We
sell
don't-
the print
we don't do the
anymore?
print. No,
Okay.
we don't do that.
Yeah. Well, again, that's a little bit of our history because they used to do that. You could go a day or two later over to one of the booths and buy the print of the balloon glow. And I've got that at home. Having a Texas flag in the top of my balloon made it easy to spot.
There's one of those cameras that does on a stick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the ventriloquist? What's the Yeah, Jeff Dunham. And what's the character? He has the, is it the jalapeno that's on, Jose? The jalapeno on its beak? Yeah. Talking to our truck there. Thanks to the truck. They always want to do. Speaking of on a steak or peppers, there is the red-green balloon, the new Visit Albuquerque balloon, which asks the official state question, red or green, and does it in a brilliant way with half the balloon being a green theme and half the balloon being a red theme. And it was interesting, they did it vertically as opposed to, the top half of the balloon being red, the bottom half being green. They did an entire side of it in the different colors. And so the red or green balloon is coming up. They're putting some heat into the balloon. You can see it both here on the field and also on our feed. Oh, look at this. There's a great picture.
Have you noticed that the number of cowboy hats on Christmas crew has grown every day?
Exponentially every day.
Every day.
I'm just a little disappointed they haven't brought us a cowboy hat.
I'm talking about that. There's the red side. We were looking at the green before. There's the red side. And of course, the official state question, red or green, featured in our brand new drone show that we have seen.
That's right. That's
A number
right.
of times here at Blue Fiesta. It was on both Saturday and Sunday mornings. And
Started us off this morning.
It did. Got a fabulous reception every morning and evening that include. So we are, this being our last event, we have seen the drone show for the last time this year. Well, I can fix that because we recorded it for you early this week, and it is now listed as one of the shows on our Blue Fiesta live page. Oh, there you go. There's
Our crack wind fire production team doing
that
a
is
split
not,
screen.
That is not two balloons. That is
one
balloon.
Red on one side, green on the other.
Yeah. What a great job of putting that together, and of course being able to show you both sides at exactly the same time. Just another.
Well, we have a crack production team here at Wind Fire Productions. And great team.
part of the fleet operated by the Single Riders Group. Propane for all of our pilots and or propane for whatever use you may need propane for here in Albuquerque and around the country. I also saw in there the Indian Cultural Pueblo.
It's in the back of the
Pueblo
van.
Cultural Center.
Easy for you to say.
Got to get the words in the right order. So
Yeah,
that's
I think,
another one that they've been flying around town. People get an opportunity to get their balloon ride as well as having the balloon in the sky.
I think Dos Equis is also one of
That's
the
another one of
clients.
those. Yes, it
Yeah.
is. Got out and fly the Dos Equis branded balloon. So again, we do have a green flag. So far, our ride balloons are getting inflated.
What is this, cowboy aerobics or line dancing out there they're doing? What's going on there? Pistons team loosening up, I guess.
Loosening up for the flight here.
Doing some pre-flight calisthenics. The launch director has joined in, or the ZIT has joined in.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, that's the
launch
referee
director.
suit with the red hat.
Right. ZIT. Oh yeah, the launch director is there.
Yeah, I thought there was
Yeah.
we got a cowboy
She's
hat
got
as well.
not only a cowboy hat, she's got the Western themed referee jacket. See the fringe?
Oh yeah,
Jacket, yeah, and the pink gloves. Looking stylish down there, team.
Getting these pictures from our balloon camp, which isn't in the balloon yet.
Flying this morning.
You know, this is one of those days as a pilot. Okay, it's been 9 days I've been out here. I've been on the road a few days to get here. I've got a few days to drive back. I need to have a nice, safe flight if I'm going to do that. It's calming down on the ground. The reports are there's a fast player pretty quick right above us.
The term I heard was zippy,
yeah.
which is not a term I've heard before. A zippy
layer right there. That's true. That was the term that Peg used, our assistant balloon meister. But that all the reporting stations that we have up around town are all now reporting calm.
Well, we've talked about, maybe this is where you we've talked all week about, even when we put up a green flag, it is always the pilot's discretion. They have the final decision whether or not to fly. And maybe where you were going, or if you're not, I'll go there.
I was going there.
A lot of these pilots, as you say, they've been on the road. You know, they traveled perhaps 2 or 3 days to get here. We've had 9 rather difficult, challenging days, let's be honest, about Balloon Fiesta this week. Now they're on the weather challenge. That's what I mean. But it's been physically challenging with sleep patterns interrupted and flying and weather, etc. And now they're facing maybe a 2-day. I've got a 2-day drive to get home starting tomorrow. So some of them are probably saying, you know, I really would like to fly today, but maybe I'm too tired. Maybe whatever. There may be some pilots out there that, you know, are really just taking a long, hard decision about, do I really want to get in the air today? Am I going to be completely safe? If I do so, maybe it's better that I stay on the ground because I don't have travel.
See if we can get that eastbound winds over the airport. And out to the 94-24 area to see where we're at. Can we get down there? We're a little bit south, so I don't want to go too far north.
They do this more often, fly daily for a living. We'll see. Let somebody else
kind of
be
keep
the first
climbing.
one. Be able to get in the air and literally see what is happening. How zippy these could be later.
Tower. This is Hot Air Balloon November 74008.
Zippy.
208, copy that. Third of 3 balloons, colors are orange and yellow gold.
There goes one of our first Rainbow Riders balloon. As they ascend, we'll begin to go.
Channel 3.
I know I would be hesitant if I were
Yeah, what channel we're on.
Yeah, like you say, big lots of options. So another balloon has got on the east side of the field. I guess I should wake up my spotter app so I can start seeing.
Well, I was going to say, I identified that balloon earlier. Wires on it.
Yes.
Competition one day, and I remember finding it down there.
God damn it.
Gee, there's only
Oh, okay. We had launched from three.
Well, I'm not looking at that one. I'm looking for this one, which is the farmer's balloon.
Oh, I could have told you that one.
See, it says that is the first year here at Balloon Fiesta, and out of Los Lunas, New Mexico. Just a little bit. So there goes Farmers Insurance and their beautiful red, white, and blue balloon. Speaking of red, white, and blue, the Team Jeep sky with the Union Jack. That is also my name there. Flag.
Similar one right here.
Well, I know, it takes a while.
Yeah, I didn't put enough colors.
Exactly.
Diamond. Yes. Yeah, that's it. That's Eric Greenwood on our screen with the Enchanted balloon.
Trying to slow our west. Right at the boundary here. What do we got?
Static. Smoky Bear. Looks like it's
Coming
getting
up behind us.
Here on the main stage as well. And Beth Wright. Is Beth Wright still
Yes.
flying as well?
Yep. She is. And you know, we've talked a lot about the red.
Anthony came up to the party on the roof last night.
Really nice
Yeah,
orange
he
and
came
yellow.
through the anteroom here as we were all sitting in there and said hello.
Great.
What was that? The Cheers for 50 years party last night?
Yeah.
We
Think about
invited a
maybe
number
making a new
of
one.
city, state, county leaders.
I was thinking, oh, well, I could put two rounds right in the middle. Yeah. Like maybe I'll put something else on it.
They got the full experience.
They did. Yeah,
Right in the middle.
That's what it's all about. There is the Rio Grande, or Rio Grande. And the
Yeah.
And so I have to believe they've solved the digital problem.
Right.
So
I
I'm done with it, I do wrap
Get a shot
this
at
one,
how
but
big
then I've
the
been sharing them
Rainbow
with
Rider
the
was,
Yeah.
and therefore faster.
The box is pretty stable. I think the
Well,
screen is
here
what
now,
I'm worried
the
about.
Arizona flag and a diamond
Eddie
center
goes
of
like, I see you've got that. He's like,
to
first thing you need to do is get a screen protector.
back to the Scotty Dunn.
Probably right, but
Scottsdale, Phoenix
big construction area too.
area.
It is. This one is, that's the church and the college, the Nazarene College.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know that they own all that land, but I think they do. And they've built up these retaining walls. Those are new because it used to just slope off. And so they built the retaining walls. They've leveled it all, and I flew somebody from there years ago, and they had talked about the idea that they'd always wanted to build sort of apartments that they could use as dorms for their students, right? That's a lot.
They were doing that like little Christmas drive-through. Is that this church here?
I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like little Christmas lights.
Right.
I feel like it was doing that.
Okay, I feel like we've
Well,
turned.
I would
Yes.
tell you that the Indian Club
Was it really?
Always jumping out.
See, it looks beige to
it
me.
has now taken on the Adobe color
Well, okay, that's
of the
yeah.
sand
Faster
here.
than us,
Right.
yeah.
Yes, it was
Yeah, I think
when
he's-
first,
he's
it was
accelerating
white.
on
It was,
this one.
it's,
Yeah. Okay. Well, and that takes us back to the story I told earlier. That we were used buildings and then some assets overflow now because the white fabric didn't turn.
it is really a treat for us to fly off of this field because it is all grass. But seeing the number of
So
those
that's when they called in the morning. If I always get one.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's kind of an amazing thing here in Albuquerque.
Yeah, we used to, whenever in the old days again, you could find the grass park or something with green space to land in here in Albuquerque. Speaking of the
Even if the
those,
first year we were here,
We're just going opposite directions.
sections. I mean, I can remember the first couple of years I came when you literally and moved them off to the side. So they had those
That 120
lights
ground wind
kind
thing
of marking their square of the bigger rocks and move them.
Not very long.
So when you later yeah, and so the bigger
Unless he's
rocks
directly
around
above me,
there
I don't
are
see
not
him.
what you lay your feet down on. Now it's the great scene in your history.
It's like Troy quite a bit of stuff.
Yes,
Like trade zone kind of stuff.
showing you into this great Todd just in the morning. He asked for what's the biggest thing.
Yeah, on a day like today, it's hard to predict. The cloud layering will prevent the heating, which
the other interesting thing is to take an aerial picture of the field.
but it started out pretty warm. So
That's
He looks a little tired.
Yeah, it is definitely.
Secchi's being one part of the corporate. Their new balloon is standing up, and that would be Scott Albuquerque flying here. Pilot just beside him is the Phillips 66 balloon.
My bad, gang.
Glad right. Now deciding to go ahead and stand their balloon up. 4 or 5 balloons get in the air. They see how fast the delayer is up there.
Well, and I over us. And
Oh, what is my
wind? North to south.
Terry, do you know where he went?
He's landing.
Pretty much.
Right here.
Landing site, so that might be a consideration. I would think.
Well, I'm a little bit curious that we're not seeing Dave inflated. In this kind of a situation, I'm typically comfortable scooping up. Something on the order of 200
Sometimes
feet
you
a
don't
minute.
What the fuck? My vision.
We'll get out of the way.
Oh my fucking God. Why are you blooming, you sneaky bastard?
By giving the basket a little shove, or hang on to start them.
Too drunk for this.
Yeah, I don't do it often. I do it to the people who I know.
Each weekend, which is Champions Wash here. This is Champion Express Car Wash. I can always remember, you know, again, back to some of my earlier years here when
I was gonna fly my new balloon when I got
on Chalmers Ford. And then before you could return the car, you had to wash it. Oh, so I had to hunt down on a Sunday afternoon after our morning flight. I had to go hunting for preferably over to drive their automatic car wash. So, because they then turned around and sold those cars at a good price. Sold as brand new because they had been used. Mine usually very lightly used, driven around the street. And I ended up, because of that, one year when I was out there, I drove home a brand new Ford Expedition.
That car wash balloon is actually named Excellent, piloted by Richard Davenport from Florida.
I've been using it. Seems because of
We mentioned earlier the
In the diamond on the side. Very nice.
actually there is a Roadrunner and Coyote in the rooftop studio.
Also, in the south end of the park here is a beautiful Forget-Me-Not balloon of Garrett Hillary. Here at typically what's fine, but done a whole series.
in order that way.
That's a Celtic knot. Referencing both colors that are in the balloon.
We have told our pilots that when you're going to fly, we'd like to get you up and in the air.
Stayed on
There are pilots who are asking about the static display. We want to get the static display down on the end of our field here.
This side of fuel. Right. You don't lose any power because it's obviously a single burner, but you do lose some sense of an emergency reliability. The other thing that you put at risk is well, one of those things I have thought about that. just better.
About as bad as orange is still a bit breezy.
Yeah, I think that's probably what I would do.
Continue to hear.
Yeah, and I would think it would be rare for you to use all four.
Right.
So I think that's fine. No, it's so down here from what we're at.
Ground into that zippy layer above.
We are slightly above field level as well.
We are.
First time,
Just because you can adequately predict what the airplanes are doing.
right. Celebrating. A lot of anniversaries.
They
We've
feel
talked
about
about
the balloons, actually. We're unpredictable. They don't know what we're doing.
Park this year. The 50th for Balloon Fiesta, the 25th for the America's Challenge. You will find
Used to be being the only one in the basket.
Yeah.
At any
That's cool fact.
variety of career choices that they can make in the U.S. Air Force. It's not all about being a pilot.
That balloon made by Cuba Jack.
I did not know that. I knew it. Well, I knew it was built by people. I knew.
There was a kind of a scramble. The Air Force decided that they wanted. Frankly, went to a number of different manufacturers. Can you build it? Factory stepped up and said, we can do it. And they did. It looks great.
It does. And in the past, we have had the U.S. Navy use one of those.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
And of course, Kevin Knapp, my good friend, flew the U.S. Army balloon for a number of years. So the other services. And then, you know, the Soviet Thomas fleet included the Chesapeake Bulldog,
Yes.
which was an homage to the mascot of the U.S. Marine Corps.
Yeah, we were just ahead of the curve.
New guy gets his first splash and dash named Bull. Beautiful. Absolutely nice. Round of applause to
finally gonna
named
hear
Bull. Whoa! Nice one.
Down,
He
Ruth.
hung out backstage.
Yeah.
First one with
That's
us.
right.
First one of the
Ruth
night.
has tracked down
Nice. Brother. Welcome.
I think Terry has more speed than these guys. Is that your sense as well?
and he's caught up with them.
Well, Brad never says no to me. I don't know why he would say no to you going up on the stage. Maybe he was just waiting for me to come over here. And Brad, my cameraman, Tom, we don't know if we're going to be able to see your face on the camera in the sun because we've only seen you in the rain all week.
Yeah, it's brutal this year.
Have you ever seen anything like
Not at least here in Balloon Fiesta. You know, sometimes we'll get into a tough pattern where it just doesn't evolve, and that's kind of what we had here this week, where it just
See, now about
it
600
was just
feet,
a
you get a
stubborn
little
low that
right
just wouldn't
push.
go away.
this? Tell us why. Why did it stick around so long?
Well, we had the hurricane that went up the east coast there, and it kind of blocked everything. And then when that broke down, we still had an upper low basically across the lower southwest portion of the U.S. And so that just brought and certainly not balloon-friendly flying weather by any means.
So it was a We did. We actually got a lot done this week, a lot more than many of us thought we would be able to.
Hey!
How was your work going forward? Was there a lot more for you to be involved with this year?
Yeah, that's the trick. Is that with
Yo, that's
weather,
funny.
we have to do a lot of extra work in terms of trying to figure out what we can do
part of that. Thank you so much for your work, Brad. And I'm going to hang out here with my friend, my close personal friend, Brad, because he's here with me and not on the stage. Back to you guys.
Yeah.
All right, Ruth, you get the message.
Yesterday,
That's why we keep her around.
okay.
Great job, Ruth. Thanks to Brad as well for joining us. We actually
It shows their name.
Nobody expects there the weather, whatever.
South of our trade zone in the southern half of that.
Constantly on edge, monitoring all of the weather and trying to be safe to do.
Noise case
this
really
far
have
away. Now it's this
Powers
close.
over here. Has Powers and Bradley there.
All those predictions.
Back here.
Observing and
I'm going to be out on 85.
it's all the glory. The man really knows his stuff. I will say that.
He does do that. Yeah.
He's one of the top-notch weather folks as far as
I feel like it's set up.
Well, he was over in Slovenia for the World Championships. I was at the UK at Longleat, Sky Safari. You were in Columbia, Texas. Brad was over in Slovenia.
Time frame in the last.
I think August, September were particularly busy. Gordon Bennett was going on. The World Championships were happening. A lot of other normally scheduled events were going on. Yeah, we were all, have all been busy.
We saw a nice shot of the Danny Williams standing up in the FIESTA gold. See what the top looks like. There's the G Daddy. That's why we call it
Strange in
that.
that
Registration.
slow down a bit.
The yellow Fiesta gold was one of those. Again, we believe that is Mark Sullivan standing
Brett
there.
Perry was in a layer that was. Let's see a shear up there.
So Sid,
And you were
checking
climbing a
over
little
the
bit and noticed that you
That's back
cool.
My bad.
That is the statue that is over there. We have made miniatures of that statue that go to the overall champion here at Olympia. So Alan Anderson is taking over one of them. And he said Mark is overall champion award.
Isn't that a weird sensation? And yet without a
We are
turn
all
direction,
just hanging around this fucking water.
there's certainly a temperature boundary.
The main bowl is just shot up.
Engaged and traded.
Gold balloon, you may remember, built here at Olympia the last year.
That's right.
Over in the Sid Cup.
Christian are
Top secret
kind of hanging
project.
low there.
No one knew what was going on.
Isn't it amazing how bright blue and yellow blue hooks just blend in?
Last Saturday, we actually revealed that being live on
Turquoise with the 50 logo on that retail jacket.
Exactly.
Earlier that the BalloonFiestaStuff.com on Wednesday is going
Just
to
sat
open up, and if you weren't able to get one of those jackets here at Fiesta, maybe they didn't get on the sold out.
It does seem like at the lower altitude there.
That up for a bid.
Here.
BalloonFiestaStuff.com.
Yeah, but I think Corey is still headed towards the northwest. So in this kind of a situation, I would be paying very close attention to the airport to see if that 120 ground wind starts to change. Because if it does change, and let's say the ground wind is 090, that changes your landing profile quite a bit. And unfortunately, Murphy's Law says it changes it right at the end and strands you.
I thought I saw Arabelle getting cold inflated a while ago.
I think that's one of the things that Colorado Springs really teaches you. That doesn't have that sense of the wind changing an hour, hour and a half after sunrise. It encourages me to plan for two things. One, a couple of backup plans, but also sort of what I would call, which is sort of fly in the middle of the sky. Right. Fly in the middle of my landing zone, because when it changes, I don't want to be screwed at the end. Out here is that you have a 360 landing just about anywhere you are, especially east of Powers. Just we know that some of this stuff is inaccessible, so it's
not very good at doing looking good anyway.
But like from a safety standpoint, you can land on the base.
Right.
You can certainly land on the
facility.
Pretty sensitive about that one.
Factory.
That gray building
blue cold air
and the
for
little
3
brown
days.
building on the south side of the
Right.
We don't want pictures.
Yeah, pretty close. I actually came and flew past the tower over the golf
Last
course.
I heard. Right. There has been no report of any damage.
I just thought it was interesting. MP came in and was like, yeah, I need you to not have any pictures of that.
University of New Mexico, and all the
Curious
other
what you thought that was sensitive.
Yeah, in that flight path, nothing. There's nothing they've ever told me about.
Right.
But like I say, with those two sensitive spots, we weren't anywhere near those, but I think their sensitivity was the fact that I was so low for so long. Because that was the only wind I could find. So,
Various north there.
since I was so low for so long, something nefarious.
Probably mid-70s.
That's what I found. Months ago that motivated me to go. I was getting all that kind of stuff. This is an interesting flight that they've got here. Interesting in two senses. One, I probably wouldn't have made that choice, but also it is interesting. I mean, it's a fun flight. You get to go over the city. But for me, I wouldn't have made that choice. I feel like that's a much harder direction to seek landings.
Sunlight and that gorgeous turquoise diamond background.
There. Come back.
Terry looks like he's falling. Right.
It does look like it's coming back across Marshall.
Yeah, it does. And I don't see a lot of north to him. I think he's off the base enough that he'll be all right, but something for us to pay attention to since we're smack dab in the middle of it.
Her paintings, and then reproduced them, printed them onto basically white balloon fabric, and then
Start that.
from painting done by
Charlie, runway 13 at Bravo. Oh my God.
good at
26 Mrs. Strauss comes down at 0607, runway.
a story about it.
Okay.
Clear for takeoff, runway 13 at Bravo.
So it just went from 1207 to 0607 in a pretty short period.
Yeah, that's the scary thing is I saw some study done that
Yeah, Chili might have a 060. Well, no.
will
He looks more like he's still got the 120, doesn't he?
Whoa, almost 2/3. That's a scary. I mean, it is scary. My mom, bless her
We're
heart,
turning a
living
little
with it right
lefter,
now.
which is nice.
Probably never heard about her past, and now she. Yeah, a new study said 61% of
If we're going to come back that much, I'd kind of like to hold this for a little bit and get further.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that sort of the
Wind 05 Spring Star, wind 0607, color springs altimeter 300.
because if we can keep getting north, then coming back gets you up north of the base. We know this field is good by Space Village. We know this whatever demo area is fine.
Showed up with
Skyhawk 1138, wind 17 right, Alpha 1 ready for takeoff.
I went back to, like you said,
Exactly, they register with one balloon and then show up here with something else. And we don't know that. And we didn't find out about it at the time. So our database, the spotting out our hills, doesn't have any picture of what happened with Alan Anderson. He
Yeah,
was
he's just almost hovering
a
right
racer
above the
balloon
hotel.
that
You see.
we didn't have a photo of. So searchers we might through
Certainly don't have
the
a photo.
database we weren't able to find a balloon that was successful in identifying in the competition.
so I actually have a couple of grand.
Okay.
Because
I
Colin
told you
Grant
when I went shopping for
and supposedly David Adler's wife. None of that lines up
the
with the
intention
information I had.
is
But I got coordinator, who is the person show up on registration.
no confusion which one to grab.
I've been confused by it now.
That happened to me in the 120 once at a windy landing. I reached up and grabbed the wrong one, and it only cost me half a second. But it made my landing less delightful than I wanted. You know?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Liz continues her fabulous job of finding.
Oh my goodness, and this lady
that
is
our
one of the most
speed and
interesting of
direction
them
is
all.
as
She's
dependent
Peggy
on
Wilson.
altitude as it
She's
is
the
sort of the
assistant
whim of the
balloonmeister
gods
this
today.
year. Now, Peggy, this
does
is
seem
your
very
first
relieving.
year
Yeah.
as assistant balloonmeister. What's it been like for you?
It's been quite the year of learning. I've been fortunate enough to start with Balloon Fiesta as
Yeah.
launch director at Zebra, and then a safety officer, and now as assistant.
That's just such a very career path, climbing up the ladder.
Rick has
And
got down. Let's see what he does.
expectations that you will step in
He's
for
ready to get
Henry
shot.
when he's done being balloonmeister?
I'm thrilled just to be part of the team any way I can serve.
That's wonderful. Do you live right here in Albuquerque?
He's
Yes,
been
I
up
do.
about
I've been here for
45 minutes.
17
So
years.
he should be looking at the
And it's like your airplanes. But what do you do when you're
think we're feeling that turbulence.
As a pilot, you want to be up
Because
in
you're
the
holding
air,
a constant
but,
temperature,
all of the
but we're
volunteers,
fluctuating
we
100 feet a
enjoy
minute.
helping everybody else be able
And it's
to
quicker,
enjoy this
right? I mean, like,
wonderful
you could see
effect.
both of us are looking at the instrument. It's like, oh,
Do you
something
do
just happened.
as an assistant flight?
Faster than we're cooling or
One
warming,
of the
that's for
things I
sure.
do is coordinate with the FAA. The second is whatever Henry needs me
Do
to
you know,
do.
do we have access south of Space Village in that open area?
Generally just help in all the activities.
Okay.
There's
It used
plenty
to be
for
right
everybody
where
to
the
do
dirt
at all
road
times.
is.
This year with all of the weather challenges that we've had.
Well, one of my
At one point I thought that
responsibilities
was
is
logged,
to
but that's
do the
been
pilot briefings
years ago.
for the board. And so, as you know, that's been a particular challenge this
Well, it
year with
was,
the weather.
but then just
so
the other day, like,
fortunately, we have
the last
a
couple weeks,
world-class weather team. Class information.
looked
Constantly. So there
particularly
has
rocky,
been
but
a unique
The gate into the
set of
house
circumstances
has
this year.
it had been locked.
Wonderful.
Peggy, thank you so much for all
I
the
have
work
gotten
you
in
do.
there in half,
We
so
hope we'll
I
see you
think
back again. And I'm going to send it back to the state.
You can go all the way out.
Makes
right
sense.
out the front.
Peg, go
I retrieved that.
So, kind of under her direction, leadership, working with me and a number of other people.
I think it's Sean Wicks. Now I think about it.
Okay.
Has put together
That is a long time ago.
virtual route in the middle of producing an online chase crew training class.
Well, Peg has had a very difficult week position.
Right here.
So I feel like Troy
Right here.
has gone north, because I felt like we were closer. I don't know what he did to get north, though, because we've been at the same weather.
Right. Well, he actually climbs quite a bit. He was
Oh, did
down
he?
lower
Okay.
earlier.
Said, you know, Peg, we all think it's all your fault. and she looked at me very seriously and says, I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get fired. Does great work and just, you know, had the bad luck of the draw that her first year coordinating the balloon glows turned out to be this year when Mother Nature didn't cooperate with it. She's very blameless with that, but yeah, she's like all of us. We're disappointed.
Oh, now that's going right.
Recognized
Wow.
by Quad A yesterday as she is
You
the
lucky
latest
son.
Don't earn that if you haven't paid your dues and earned your stripes. So congratulations to Peg. It's been
Alan
fun
is
working with
way
her.
the fuck
Even
up
though
there.
you and I have not enjoyed the relationship we've normally
So Brooke
enjoyed.
looks to be moving
Ah, you're
pretty
right
slow.
above me.
They're right here at our side.
I would say a little
Call
north of
been huddled up with all the other officials, monitoring the weather, talking to I personally have not had the chance to get to know Peg, as I typically would a new balloon assistant balloon meister, but I'm sure we'll be working with her again next year. I look forward to that.
has stood up the Xfinity Rewards balloon, and a few moments ago I saw Phil Free
should we
take
get?
out the
Just
Intel
Intel
balloon.
been destroyed or anything like that.
And there's Spooky we talked about. Spooky is laid it down that end of the field.
Laid it down there as well. I just got a glimpse of it behind one of our
The Fractal balloon.
thank you. I was about to say petroglyph or something. I knew it was the right word.
Fractal balloon, another one of those printed on white fabric.
Right.
Like you were talking
Exactly.
about.
It's
Ken
encouraging
Hall's
for
balloon.
us.
Yeah.
The design is worked out on a computer and then it's printed out and then it is literally printed onto white fabric.
You know, Jonathan Wood came to talk to our local news club about the production of that balloon. And you know, you think about it. it. These other balloons, you know, they have some yellow panels and they have some red ones and all these different colors. And if a panel were to get damaged, you would just take some red fabric or yellow fabric, whatever. You would have to go back to the factory and have them print a panel for you.
Unless we just stay high, there's wind, but like.
Go back and figure out the design, what that signal was, and then reprint the exact panel.
Then in theory,
You know,
that
I never thought about that.
We had neither.
But yeah, because if you've got a, you know, if you're the Xfinity rewards balloon there, if you burn one of those, you still have another panel of blue covers or the fabric.
make sure that we don't get out of the base.
So that's where having all of that pattern designed on the computer, printed out that way, easy to go back.
Part of the design is on
I was kind of looking at that right now, actually, starting with it right now.
I feel like we should too. I agree with you. The only hazard down below is the power lines. There's only one set show here.
and harkens memory back to the year. The bin would have been the southwest corner of that field, and many times the
I'm about west.
Looks like there's
Dobbs was actually started by Sid back before we started. Once Sid got that first balloon in 1971 for that June birthday party, shortly after that he got some folks to form the club. Extension Association, and you bought into the club, and that gave you the rights to be able to fly the balloon, take lessons. To where you can go to a social member as a pilot or any of those.
I'll bring it down.
Sponsor organ, we have monthly meetings.
We'll be in my close now. Yeah, one last time. Pushing for this first town.
Our education committee, which is part of the group, is now producing online ground schools.
You might be able to see
we have done in-person
flat town.
and COVID forced us to move online. So we reacted fairly quickly, I believe, and managed to get those courses online.
Well, and clubs like that were how a lot of people got started.
Three people
Yeah,
down.
people would group together, they would buy a single balloon and share ownership. With the legal system we have in this country, with lawsuits, et cetera, that's not very popular anymore. But in the UK, for example, they have what they call syndicates, and it's nothing more than a partnership in a way to buy a balloon. Be a balloonist and our PA Greg wants to be a balloonist, the three of us knew each other. We might go together and buy a balloon, and we would each be trained on that balloon, and we would each have partial ownership and have shared flying rights and that sort of thing.
They have turned a little
That's
bit more
very
north.
common over in the UK, but they don't have the legal court system that we have here, which is one way of saying, they're not as lawsuit happy as we are in this country. So that style, Guy Goffey used to make a living forming balloon clubs. He would find 8 or 9 people. Eventually, what typically would happen is 2 or 3 or 4 people would learn to fly, become pilots, and then they would each
You
want
can
their own
set those.
balloon, so someone would eventually buy out the club balloon,
Hadn't gone and
and
looked
then
at
the
it.
other.
Because the information came in the packet.
That much.
Very basic.
Here in the
How
States,
to turn it on, off, and how to set the alternative. And there's a quick start menu.
For any reason.
Look at that.
Oh, gee, the weather was bad.
Now, usually through balloons on this side of the
Yeah.
Bought a $5
What about
ticket
between the
and
Royal
in,
and
It's
so,
short balloon.
Because I do see an entrance
Stage
there.
is flat.
Nuts. Anyway,
I
that's
don't
one
feel
to
the
get
rush.
back on track.
No, we're trying to get it. 2:30.
Florida Balloon Club flying. Hey, Edward, Bill
I
Murray.
missed my landing
30
spot.
won't get
At one time, it was very popular here in the United States. You just don't see it very
Check out the website at hotairballooning.org.
From a fuel standpoint,
you can check out.
if you want to go all the way to the house, do you have enough fuel to get there?
.net. Back on the DFA website. If you're here from another part of the
We
country,
should give like
you
2
might want to get involved with
or
ballooning
1.
home.
Anything but 0.
Website and find out if there is a regional
Make sure I'm
like
close to
Quad
this
A
road before I
in
get to
any
there.
part of the country that you president of Quad A.
Taking his new heart's desire.
Look at
here
everyone.
CNN, yes.
Local community college. And there's the new hearts on the side of that balloon.
Yeah.
Kristen McLean we saw is standing
Oh,
on the
Dez.
minute
I'm not about Dez.
down here at the south end. We
Gustavo. That one is now gone.
And there is a
Singular.
very tall
yeah,
box. Look up there.
So I think this is the point where Travis could probably use a little bit of
like
advice.
somebody spilled it.
He'll be fine, but I think the question in his mind is, are we aiming for this field, or are we going to go on?
Expert weatherman that we know that he is predicted that earlier this morning during briefing that there would be a box, but it might be very tall today, and there it is.
definitely the higher you go, the
Bring it
slower
right
you go.
here.
Which means it's a shame we haven't seen Tall Steve, because Tall Steve could fit perfectly into a tall box.
Andrew would turn that on the right.
Sorry, not sorry.
There's the everybody.
I would agree. It's very cool.
Well, you were telling me earlier this morning, checking the weather readings we had, that there was a layer of speed of like
GoPro
1
angle.
Or less,
or less.
Yeah, there was a lot of that up there. It was just these lower 1,000 feet or so. Now, it is mixing down. Of course, that happens now that we have some sun and blue sky and clouds.
And my goodness, for the first time this week, the clouds are white.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. White clouds instead of
Blue
gray
skies.
clouds.
Yeah.
White clouds.
Great day for it. Yeah, great picture. Great night.
They are popping.
They definitely are.
Message
Tell me who you
like
thought
it, big bang, and this is the biggest bang that happened.
Got a nice, peaceful,
Almost 10
calming,
minutes.
Yeah.
easy launch.
I was thinking to myself,
I had
I'm down for it.
Nelson singing
I'm not some
Get it shut down.
Well, I know. I didn't mean necessarily.
Bubba's 33. Baseball. Ron was kind enough to have a little camera this weekend for us.
Guys, hang on.
The
You're good. You're clear. This looks just like the balloon I used to cruise before.
And certainly appreciate it.
I'm not as familiar, but it's like available
Like,
back to the sensors.
that shit. Hold up, over here.
We had gone, I would have welcomed us.
Hey. Holy shit, I don't know why it's
There you go. I want to get that.
nice touch. Look at you.
Yeah, I left that back stage.
We'll get it out.
Unless they seem to get a little bit more left.
And you know, the direction he's going out of here has changed.
It has.
They were not going
I
that
think
direction.
you're right.
They went out of here.
More of this westerly, southwesterly component now. Originally it was more south.
But looking out at the north end of the